Hey everyone, Dave here. Welcome to a new Raid Shadow Legends video. What I want to talk to you about today is a few points that I think are very important in your choice for your Unkillable clan boss team. These points are compiled from older players in the game who've been playing the game for years. That if you are a newer player, you might miss one or two of these, even if some of them sounds logic to you. And all of these points, if not followed, will impact your damage on clan boss. So a certain team that you think that you're satisfied with can do double damage, or a different team can do much better damage than the one you settled for. So let's go through these points one by one. I will have them in the time codes in the video as well, so you can jump back and forth or focus on the ones that are more relevant to you. What triggered this video for me? On the Acrisia account, who is our super lucky secondary account. If you don't see someone like videos for this account, please go ahead and go back and see them because we had amazing luck there. So in the Acrisia account, I almost have all of the unkillable champs right now. I have a budget man-eater comp running, and I pulled the second man-eater, I went for Emic, and I pulled in Helicath, and I went for the guaranteed Demetha. So I can almost build all of the clan boss comps, well, the unkillable ones that are out there. I don't have Seeker though, but like talking about Seeker, I'll have a different video coming soon about this. But let's talk about what point there, because what I went there, I invested books, Lego books, and of course I maxed Emic just to find out that my man eater, well, the heart eater, my man eater Emic comp is not doing as much damage as my budget unkillable. So I just went back to my budget unkillable. That's why I want to talk to you about this today, because you might go ahead and invest chickens and books, especially Lego books, if it's a Lego champ that you're booking, to build a clan boss comp that will be disappointing for you. So let's get directly into the first point, and like I said, I'll put everything in the time codes below. The first point is very logic, so I won't spend much time on it, which is basically that you choose the champs that you have. If you have double man eater, you build a double man eater comp. If you have Helicath, you build a Helicath comp, and so on. You cannot build a team without having the specific champs needed for that team. And if we go to Deadwood Jedi's website, let me bring it up here. Yep, it's visible. Let's actually check this one. I'll tell you a couple of things here. So when you're checking the comp on Deadwood Jedi's website, you'll see that there are specific champs that are irreplaceable for the speed tune to work. So you cannot put anyone in place of Seeker, Ilva, Ruella, and Demetha here. So you need to have these four champs. So first point, as easy as this, if you don't have the champs, you cannot build a comp. Choose a comp with the champs that you have. First point done. Let's now go into the second point, which will talk more directly about stuff that's not so obvious, is before you do anything, get into the game, figure out who you want to have in the team, like let's say Ninja, if you want to do a comp that has Ninja in it, and then use the fitting room, try the gear without costing you anything, just to make sure that you can get to the right stats. Don't go ahead and max Ninja and book him. Well, Ninja's not available anyway, it's just an example. But what I'm saying is that don't max the champs and then figure out if you have the gear or not, because if you don't have the gear, you've just wasted a lot of resources there. The other thing is not only having the gear. You might be able to get the champs to those speed. Well, speed is most important for the speed tune. Like, for example, if you can build Ruella at 294 speed, but you cannot build her with enough crit rate and accuracy that she needs to fulfill her role, then you better not have a different comp. While you're progressing through the game, probably it's better for you to go for comps with lower speeds, especially for the debuffers and the damage dealers, than higher speed comps, which will require you to have much better gear. So this is the second main point. Check your gear before building the champs to make sure you can achieve the speed, accuracy, crit rate, crit damage, attack or defense, depending on what they're depending on, to do good damage basically on clan boss. Third point is that you will have flexible spots in the team. Like for example, here in that Ruella comp, you see that I have only one damage dealer slot that's flexible. While in the Heart Eater comp, you see they are marked DBS on Deadwood Jedi's website. Okay, I hope that's visible. You have actually three slots that's open, basically to put anyone there. The only like restriction here is that if it's a comp that doesn't allow, for example, a champ who takes extra turns, like Whisper, you won't be able to have Whisper there, or Galalung Braids, for example, which have, like both of these champs, have in their skill kits something that gives them extra turn. So just beware that you cannot use these. So check which damage dealers or the buffers you can have for this. If you have someone in this team, like for example, why is Dracomorph so popular in all of the old guard clan boss teams? Because he's perfect for this. He used to be the best champ in the game. So he places guaranteed 100% on a 3-turn cooldown, decrease defensive weaken. You will have them up all the time. He plays poison, one of the main damage ways of on clan boss, and he hits really hard with his A1. So that's a perfect example of a DPS. What's another example that's good enough for this, that's used everywhere? One of the popular champs for clan boss, Fane. Why is Fane so popular for those unkillable teams? She applies poisons, decrease attack, decrease defense, and weaken, and she hits hard. So that's what you're looking for in damage dealer. What else are you looking for? You're looking for ally attack champs, because ally attack champs will attack with other champs, increasing those War Master and Giant Slayer procs. So, when you have flexible slots in the team, consider who are you bringing there. Like Farkin the Fat, best ally attack champ for clan boss. I have a specific video about this. Go check it out. Um, Poisons, HP burns are, yeah, let them poisons, but they can also do damage on the clan boss. Decrease defense and weaken is really important on clan boss. So for these flexible spots, check what champs you want to bring there, because if they're applying the buffs, you'll need also to add accuracy to the speed tune, crit rate, and crit damage, and all of that stuff. So choose your damage dealers based on who can help that team do the most damage. So that's the third point there. What is the fourth point? Fourth important point is speed ranges. If you are newer to building these clan boss teams, these unkillable clan boss teams, you'll note that any variation in the speed tune from what's specifically written here, with some comments about masteries, extra turns, relentless, and all of that stuff, if this team is out of tune, it will be killed and it won't do the damage. So when you're building your first unkillable team, go for more of a team like this. The Heart Eater is a great example for this. You'll see we have good speed ranges there. Are they visible on the screen? Yep, maybe not this one, but let's go for this one. So you have like 6 to 8 speed range there. What I tend to do if I'm tuning a team like this, try to put the champs at the middle of the speed range so they won't fall out of range. If you put them just at the edge of the speed range, then any mastery proc or any something like that can throw them off the speed tune. So choose a comp with a good speed range for every champ and try to center them amidst that speed range. That will make your life really easier building the team. As opposed to one of these champs, this is a team I'm using on my main. Just notice the speeds here. They are all to the dot. There is no variation there. That needs to be the specific speeds for all 5 champs. These kind of teams need a lot of experience and they're much harder to speed tune. So unless you're completely sure of what you're doing, don't go for such a tight team. Go for a more relaxed one with speed ranges that you can work through. What's the fifth point here that we'll talk about? Fifth point will be choose like a 2 per 1, like basically check the damage potential. So if you have 2 comps and you can build all of them, I'm talking about the points here in order. So to get to this point, which is the fifth now, I guess, you need to satisfy the first 4. So let's say that you satisfy the first 4 points on 2 different comps. Which one would you go for next? The one you should go for is the one with highest potential damage. So if one of them can 2 key Ultra Nightmare, the other can 3 key it, definitely go with the 2 key one. But since this point, it's a bit variant, so I'll tell you what I mean there. Um, when I talk about the next points, you'll understand. So, of course, you'll go for the team which will give you the most damage because you want to be 2 keying Ultra Nightmare, for example, and 1 keying Nightmare instead of 3 keying Ultra Nightmare and 1 keying Nightmare. So you'll have an additional key per day to use on Brutal, for example, or just to relax and save yourself some time. So that's the fifth consideration there. And usually, if we talk about these teams that go at this team probably is going 3-1, if I'm not mistaken. So when your gear is better, early on you'll build slower teams that will go more or less. This team goes 1-1 except for the unkillable champs. So teams that take many turns for each clan boss for each clan boss turn, sorry, will do more damage generally because they will have more War Master and Giant Slayer procs. So that's one of the main factors that will increase your damage per key. But the thing is that these teams take longer to run, and the other thing is that they are more gear intensive. So you won't be able to build them till you farm gear properly. So that's the fifth point, if I'm not mistaken. Let's talk now about the sixth and a very important point that Plarium introduced when they gave us basically. Let me go to my clan boss team now. I do have a key, but I won't use it now. When they gave us Quick Battle. Quick Battle doesn't only need a one key team, but it also needs a team that can be run full auto from the start using AI. For example, my team here, though it does excellent damage on clan boss, cannot be full auto from the start, so I have to manual for a couple of turns, then put it on auto. So, if you satisfied all the 5 points that we talked about so far, and you came to that sixth point, and you have a full auto team with AI setup versus a team that you'll manual a little bit, then probably go for the full auto one because you don't want to manual. Manual brings the possibility of failure. You might forget, you might skip something, and then the whole key is ruined, or it's just saving yourself some time there. Why I was saying that from the fifth point, it's a little bit variable there because if you don't care, if you prefer to run a team full auto from the start and put your phone aside, and you don't care about that extra key, then you might switch those fifth and sixth points in priority and go with the full auto team in spite of it doing a little bit less damage than the manual team. So it's your choice there at this point. Now we're getting into the seventh point. Seventh point that I want to talk about is that you want a team, if you satisfied all of these points, that works on all difficulty without changing any gear. Some of the teams that are put on Deadwood Jedi's website will need some gear swap, a single piece of gear usually for only one of the champs, to work on a certain difficulty, or swap of champs per affinity. So you need to build a spirit tank, or you need to put Doom Priest when it's spirit affinity to cleanse that decrease speed, otherwise it will throw your speed tune off. So teams that don't require changing champs based on affinity or difficulty that will work the same way on Ultra Nightmare, Nightmare, and hopefully Brutal would be much better than teams that would require these changes. Again, because these changes, you might not pay attention to the affinity or whatever, so it might mess things up. So teams that don't require changes are better there. The last point, is it the eighth point now? Yeah, the last point that I want to mention is that try to go for teams, assuming you've satisfied all of this and you're still here. Well, if you're still here, thank you. Consider subscribing to the channel. That will help us get to 1,000 subs. But the last main points that I want to mention here, important one, is that try not to lock champs that can be useful elsewhere. What I mean by that, for example, some of these comps require Lydia. Lydia is a great debuffer, actually sees a buffer and a debuffer in the same move. That's why Lydia is so powerful and everyone wants to get her from Faction Wars. Check my Faction Wars series, it will help you get Lydia faster. So Lydia's mostly used in seer comps in like Doom Tower Hard, in dungeons, in a lot of places, and even in Arena in a lot of cases. So, if you use a clan boss comp that requires Lydia in the team, then you cannot use her elsewhere. For example, I'm using Turvold in my clan boss team. So, to do that, my Turvold is dead slow to fit into that comp. My problem would be is that if I wanted to use him for arena, he's too slow, I won't be able to do so. So my point is that if you have two comps satisfying all of these previous requirements, one of them will look at champs that's useful for you elsewhere in the game, PvE or PvP. Go for the other teams that doesn't require you locking that useful champ. That was the last point that I wanted to share with you. So if you're still here, thank you so much. Subscribe to the channel, please, and help us get to 2,000 subs. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.